It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend 2009, January 16th to be exact. And we've got another wide assortment of movies here. Well, not really. 2 comedies, 1 horror movie in 3D, and a musical biopic. And one of these comedies we're about to get to here, the first one that we have here, the biggest new release of the weekend. Not only that, but it was one of the biggest surprise hits that nobody saw coming. And considering that we're about to have another movie this weekend at the time of recording this, the Minecraft movie, that is a movie that nobody really was expecting a whole lot from, but is going to make a ton of money anyway. Let's go back and take a look at a film that was shockingly a big hit. This is Paul Blart Mall Cop. Shocking for many reasons. One, that trailer was not doing that movie any favors. 2, there was a lot of family films out there. I mean, I don't understand why all of a sudden we had to go bring the kids out to see this movie. I mean, Bedtime Stories was still playing. Marley and Me was still playing. I mean, like, there were so many other family films out there that you could have gone to, but no, let's go ahead and watch this PG rejected version of Die Hard. I mean, that's what this movie is. And that's the third reason why I'm shocked that this movie did well. It's basically a PG version of Die Hard. And 4, movie ain't that good. I mean, I saw it back then, and I didn't think it was all that bad, but this is one of those movies where just time has gone on, and I've realized that more and more that this is not a very good movie. And it's just like, why the hell did I... Watching it again, I really thought to myself, why the hell did I give this movie any kind of praise? Because, good lord, this movie is bad. Like I said, it's basically a PG, watered-down version of Die Hard, where you have Kevin James as Paul Blart, a single dad and a bumbling mall security guard, who finds himself in the middle of a heist and the only one in position to rescue the hostages. And, yeah, if you've seen Die Hard, you know all the tropes they're going to do, all the twists and turns, but we're not going to do it in the R-rated movie world. No, we got to do this in the PG-rated world, because why the fuck not? Let's go ahead and waste the talents of Kevin James, because at this point, Kevin James is pretty much going to waste the rest of his talents on bad Adam Sandler movies. And yeah, we're going to get to a lot of them in the months and years to come. But this should have been a warning sign of the things to come, because good lord, yeah, this movie is absolutely bad. I mean, in some world, this probably could have been a good movie. There probably is a good idea to do a kid-friendly version of Die Hard, but not in a movie like this. I mean, Home Alone 3, as bad as that movie is, and I hate Home Alone 3, it's one of my worst movies of all time, but Home Alone 3 at least had a good hook to it, where it was basically the same premise as this, except it wasn't a PG-rated version of Die Hard, but it was pretty much was the Home Alone equivalent of Die Hard, where instead of, the young kid going up against bumbling burglars, here is in the third film, it's a kid who's sick with the chickenpox going up against 4 international terrorists. Who can't stop a kid with chickenpox? Trying to figure out the logic there, but this is not about Home Alone 3, this is about Paul Blart Mall Cop, and as I said before, this is a movie that really took all the goodwill Kevin James had at this point, and just kind of faded it away, and it's just the same, man, because the guy was funny back in the day, but every movie he's done since then has either been not as good, it's just been him being Adam Sandler's big fat guy, because Chris Farley's been dead since 1997, and I guess if Chris Farley hadn't died, he probably would have been the star of this movie. And Chris Farley could have probably made it good if he was still alive, but unfortunately he's not, and there's just nothing interesting about this movie at all. Kevin James comes off as a real nut job in this movie, but like, it's weird because we have 2 mall cop movies in 2009. The Observer Report is the better one, but yeah, Seth Rogen in that one is more psychotic and insane as this guy is, but like, he's a nutcase because he thinks that he's more than worthy of getting this girl who works this kiosk played by Jayma May, some epic movie, which, I mean, it's better than a Freeburg Seltzer movie, I'll give it that, but everything that you've seen in Die Hard is in this movie. Like I said, the twist, is who's working for the bad guy, who's double crossing everybody, and instead of it being the badass movie that Die Hard was, it is literally jokes that are not funny. I mean, there's literally not one single laugh in this entire movie, and it's hard to believe that. I'm still baffled that I gave this somewhat of a positive review, not a great review per se, but I came out of it going like, oh, it wasn't that bad, and then I realized now, after all these years later, yeah, this definitely was worth it. Really, it all began when we got Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 in 2015, which was already past the point where you were way past doing a comedy sequel. Nobody cared about Paul Blart in 2015. That was something that just came and went, and it's baffling that this movie became the blockbuster hit that it was, because it made over $183 million worldwide. But truth be told, that most of that money came from the U.S., I mean, this thing in the U.S. made, I think it was like 112, let me see. Yeah, $146 million. It was somewhere around that. So, $183 million, $146 million of that came in America. This is why everybody thinks America's stupid, because we spend all our money on this garbage. Meanwhile, the international audiences barely put in $40 million to this movie. That just tells you everything you need to know about how bad this movie is. This is not a good movie. This is a really, really terrible movie. And this is one of those regretful movies that I gave it a pass back in the day, but I'm glad I have the opportunity now to say that, yeah, this made me I completely take back everything I said that was good about this movie. This movie sucks. Avoid Paul Blart Mall Cop like the plague. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is My Bloody Valentine 3D. Ah, the good old days of using people in a movie theater and trying to promote your 3D movie by having the screen is the moments in the screen coming at you and the audience going like, oh, we're really scared, when they're not. Nobody really is that scared watching this movie. What you're basically doing is trying to get your significant other to go home with you after the movie is over so you can have sex, or spending your whole time with your 3D glasses watching the naked woman that's literally on the screen and fully putting out her naked body in 3D. And in that case, yeah, this kind of makes it worth it for that. I mean, okay, I'm saying negative things about the movie. The movie clearly knows how silly and stupid it is. This is directed by the same guy that did Dracula 2000, but Dracula 2000 took itself too seriously. This is what happens when you have a director that clearly knows what he's doing. He knows what kind of a project he's working on. This is a remake of a 1981 horror movie of the same name, which, when you really think about it, it's pretty much just an in-name remake, because it's not really anything too connected to the original movie, pretty much. But in this one, you have the focus on the residents of a small town that is plagued by a serial killer in mining gear on Valentine's Day, who is believed to be the same murderer who had thought to have died a decade prior. And what follows next is a series of setups and slashings, but all in 3D. So the screen has nothing against the power of the 3D glasses as the killer throws his axe at you. I mean, like I said, they knew exactly what the fuck they were doing, and for what they did, they made kind of a fun movie overall. I kind of wish I would have seen this on the big screen. Probably would have enjoyed it a whole lot better than Paul Blart Mall Cop the weekend I went to see that, but like I said, it is what it is. It's a movie that you go into it knowing it's not going to be any smart movie. It's not going to be an endearing love story between the main couple in the movie. You're there to see the killings and the boobs and all that, and all in 3D. If you go into it knowing that, you could probably have a good time with this. I mean, this is pretty much that kind of a film. So yeah, it's stupid, it's ridiculous, but it's a fun little guilty pleasure. My Bloody Valentine 3D. So let's get to the good stuff finally. The real good stuff. Not like so bad it's good or just so bad it's bad. The stuff that actually does make this weekend worth it. Let's take a look at Notorious. It's funny that they dumped this in the middle of January, but believe it or not, this is probably one of the better musical biopics I've ever seen, because this one doesn't play it safe like most musical biopics do. It's not afraid to go into the cold hard truth of who this guy really was, but this is of course based on the life of the Notorious B.I.G. And much of the film dramatizes key events in Biggie's life, including his criminal lifestyle, an arrest and release from prison, his relationship with Sean Puffy Combs, who serves as the executive producer on this movie, Tupac Shakur, Lil' Kim, and Faith Evans, his involvement in the East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry, and of course his drive-by shooting in March of 1997. And it stars Jamal Woodard as Notorious B.I.G., also Angela Bassett playing his mother, Derek Luke playing Puff Daddy, Anthony Mackie's also in here as well, Notori Naughton playing, who's she playing this? Lil' Kim, you have Anthony Smith as Faith Evans, and I gotta say, man, they did a hell of a good job of making these women look like Lil' Kim and Faith Evans, because, good lord, they actually looked really beautiful in this, especially in the Notori Naughton. This was the first time I ever saw her or anything, and man, she looked good. Like, she's really beautiful to look at, and she's a good actress too. Everybody fits their roles in here very well, and like I said, it's a movie that's not afraid to tell the cold, hard truth about who Notorious B.I.G. really was. I mean, he's a talented rapper, but he got involved in situations that, yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable to sit through if you're a member of the B.I.G. of Notorious B.I.G.'s family. Actually, Chris Wallace is the guy's name, of course, and his mother actually was one of the producers on this movie. Which is interesting, because if you remember Spill.com and Martin Thomas, who was then on Leon on that show, went to a press junket for Notorious in New York. It was a great experience to listen to, but it was a horrible experience for him. If you ever want to look for that clip, is out there on YouTube, so go look for that. It's on Let's Do This. But he was talking about what was going on during the press tour, and when they actually saw the movie, Biggie's mother, who was a producer on the film, didn't like the fact that they basically told the cold hard truth, and she's just like, she's basically saying, my baby never hurt nobody, and you didn't know that because they didn't want you to know that type of stuff. And like, I like the fact that this movie had the balls to go in and say, hey, we're not going to play this safe. We're not there going for a movie that's going to be safe and marketable like most of today's biopics are. I mean, really, a lot of the biopics we have nowadays are very safe and marketable, and they don't want to cover the dark stuff. They don't want to cover the heavy stuff that should be involved in these movies, and that's why a lot of these movies that we've had of recently, like the Whitney Houston biopic, the Bob Marley biopic, and the Amy Winehouse biopic, were really not that good, especially wasting some really good leading performances on a generic-ass script. And this one does not do that, but because you have good people working on it. George Tillman Jr., the director of Drumline. I paused it just to make sure I got that right, and I did not. But this guy has directed good movies. Soul Food, Men of Honor. He would later go on to direct The Hate You Give, a criminally underrated movie. But Reggie Rock by the Woods, one of the writers on here. Chio Hodera Coker also wrote the script on this. You could tell that they wanted to tell the story of Notorious B.I.G. and not skimp over the stuff that we wanted to see more of. The darker elements, the stuff that probably will not make the family of the Chris Wallace happy, but you got to tell that part of the story, because that's just as important as all the other stuff in there. And it is what it is. It's a good biopic that shows what this guy left behind, but also is a movie that's not afraid to go for the dark stuff too, and it works very well. Everything about the film I thought worked really well. I thought the acting was great. I thought the performances were really good. The story worked very well, and it does keep you on the edge of your seat, which is what a good biopic should do. It doesn't go the safe and marketable route, and it works on so many levels. It's a very underrated movie. It's one I highly recommend checking out. Notorious. Easily the best movie this weekend. But the last movie we have here is not quite that bad. Let's take a look at Hotel for Dogs. So this is actually the second film they produced with DreamWorks Pictures, and it follows the story of a 16-year-old girl played by Emma Roberts and her younger brother Bruce, played by what's the name on here? Jake T. Austin from Lizzie McGuire, who find themselves in a foster home with a strict no pets policy. They must use their quick wit to find a new home for their dog Friday, and when they stumble into an abandoned hotel, they realize they can transform it into the perfect place for Friday. As well as all the strays in the city, what begins as a crusade to save one dog becomes a high-stakes adventure as everyone around them starts to wonder who let the dogs in. So essentially, it's basically the dog equivalent of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. You got this place where all these dogs are going to, and it creates an overall harmless, fun kids movie. It's a film that, yeah, on the one hand, it is very much that, a harmless kids film, but at the same time, even kids probably would look at this and go like, we're not that stupid here, guys. I mean, I'm not saying it's a great movie, but I'm not saying it's a bad movie either. It's a movie that's pretty much the equivalent of fluff. You watch it, you're amused by it, and then you forget you even saw it by the end of the day. It's like vapor. It just goes by you without a single notice. How's the cast? They're alright. How are the dogs? They're fine. How's the humor? It's fine. How's the story? It's fine. I mean, literally, there's not much more you could say about this one. I mean, there's nothing offensively bad about it. It's basically just 100 minutes of watching dogs doing dog-like things on screen, and there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it's entertaining, as long as it's completely harmless, which this is. But it doesn't leave the lasting impact that once you see it, you're going to immediately forget about it as soon as you watch it. I mean, I've watched this a couple times in my life, and every time I watch it, it's just like, that's not so bad, but I never thought about it 24 hours later. I mean, I'm literally going to forget about this movie 24 hours from now when I'm moving on to the next week's movies. But, I mean, what is there left to even say but Hotel for Dogs? It's fine. Fine for what it is. So that's going to do it for this episode of Time About the Movies, but unfortunately we're heading back into a weekend with lesser movies. We have 2 movies coming out on the second to last weekend of January, and neither one of these are really that memorable. We have Underworld Rise of the Lycans, the 3rd installment of the Underworld series, but this time it's a prequel starring Rhoda Mitra instead of Kate Beckinsale. But we also have Inkheart, the latest family adventure with Brendan Fraser and Helen Mirren among the cast, and yeah, like I said, neither one of these movies is going to leave much of a lasting impact, so we can get through that one pretty quickly on the next episode. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and want to see more, go ahead and check out the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode. I always realize that I'm pointing down here, and the playlists are usually going to be over here, or in this case over here, because the camera's facing me, and I'm basically looking at a mirrored version of what you're going to be looking at here. So let's do this again. If you like what you saw and want to see more videos like this, go ahead and check out our playlist, check out the previous episode, and then you can go hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell, because we do post new videos here every day. With all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.